Spike Robot here with another video, this time another short story. This story is called The Kingdom of the Treasure, a Team Indestructible short story. And I hope you all enjoy it. Let's begin. Some say the best way to search for a treasure is looking for a map. Some say the best way to find a treasure is to find pieces of the treasure. Some say the best way to search for a treasure is to find the source that documents others who have tried searching for it. But for young military man Captain Andrew Gates, the only method is trial and error. But many would argue that factors into all three methods. Throughout his youth, he had been told time and time again about the largest treasure on Earth inside a kingdom by his neighbor Cecil. As a boy, he believed him. As a preteen, he started to doubt him. But in high school, he started to think that there is a possibility, but was still unsure. But as a man in the military, he was thoroughly convinced that this giant treasure existed after he saw a VHS tape that was recorded in the early 1970s. He watched the tape in the mission briefing room of the military base with the lights off and no one else in. That is until Sergeant Jake Steinfeld came in and saw Andrew watching it. Watching the video of the guys finding the treasure, asked Jake. Yeah, said Andrew. Cool, said Jake. But finish it quick. That tape is classified. If Davidson finds out you watched it, he's going to be pissed. I know, said Andrew. He watched the tape for a little more, but something caught his eye. In the tape, the military men were faced with two buttons. One soldier pressed one button, and a door opened to see a piece of the treasure clearly. As soon as it opened, another soldier pressed another button, and a fire started blowing into the room, and the tape was cut off. My God, did you see what happened? Said Andrew. Rewind the tape, said Jake. Andrew rewound the tape for a few seconds and played the clip again. Holy shit, said Jake. You have just found a possibility of the treasure. Neither Jake nor Andrew believed what they saw. Andrew immediately ejected the tape and put it in the folder that it was in. The folder had a red stamp that said classified. See you tomorrow, Andrew, said See you tomorrow, Andrew, said Jake. Take it easy, said Andrew. Jake left the dark room. Andrew immediately took the video cassette from the folder and put it in his coat. When Andrew got back to his apartment, he got out his cell phone and dialed in 7 digits. Cecil actually gave him a number to call in case AC needed him again. He typed the numbers in and put the cell phone to his ear. Andrew hoped that Cecil would pick up the phone. Believe it or not, Cecil actually did answer the phone. He said, Cecil, Franklin's calling. Hi, this is Andrew, said Andrew. Andrew, I did not expect you to call this number. I have not seen you in years, said Cecil. I can't believe it myself, said Andrew. So what did you call me about? Asked Cecil. I have evidence that the largest treasure on Earth in that kingdom actually exists for sure, said Andrew. Really, said Cecil. Yeah, since I don't own a VCR in my apartment, and I cannot show it to you, unfortunately, said Andrew. That won't be a problem, because I actually You live around here, said Cecil. Also, I actually still have my VCR. This is exciting, son. I cannot wait to see it. What is the address? Asked Andrew. 167 Hindenburg, said Cecil. I'll come tomorrow, said Andrew. Great, see you then, said Cecil. Bye, said Andrew. He ended the call with excitement. The next day, Andrew got out of his apartment and headed for his car. At the same time he was doing this, he got out his cell phone and accessed his contacts. He clicked on the contact for his girlfriend, Annie Kissy, and hoped that she would answer his call. Andrew waited for a couple of seconds and then heard Annie say, Hi, Andrew. Annie, I want you to come to the address 167 Hindenburg, said Andrew. Why the fuck do you want me to go there? Asked Annie. I want to show you something that you won't believe, said Andrew. Is it about the treasure? Asked Annie. Yeah, said Andrew weakly. But I have to tell you, this shit is real. When he said it, his tone shifted drastically. I'm going to show you the proof. Please come to the address. Actually, I would like to see it, said Annie. Really, said Andrew. Really, said Annie. I will be there shortly. See you there, said Andrew. He ended his call and drove in his car. When Andrew got to the palace, it was for Annie to get there. When Andrew got to the place, he waited for Annie to get there. After a little bit, she arrived at the house. Wow, this is an old place, said Annie. Well, this is a place of an old friend, said Andrew. Andrew rang the doorbell and waited for a little bit. Cecil opened the door seconds later. Andrew, he said, Andrew, you have grown a lot since the last time I saw you. I've heard that way too fucking much, said Andrew. Who's this with you? Asked Cecil. I'm his girlfriend. My name is Annie, said Annie. Hello, said Cecil. Now what did you want to show me? Asked Cecil. Well, come inside and I'll show you, said Andrew. All three of them went inside the house. Andrew got out the VHS tape he snuggled up. Andrew got the VHS tape he smuggled out over to his apartment and in the house of Cecil. Is this the classified tape? Asked Annie. Yes, said Andrew. Davidson is not going to like this, said Annie. I know that already, said Andrew. But he put the VHS tape inside Cecil's VCR anyway. Andrew was not afraid to break the rules, if necessary. Andrew, Annie, and Cecil all sat down together. Andrew rewound the tape. He showed Annie and Cecil the clip at the very end that was shocking. So the treasure does exist, said Cecil. But those men died before they could see it. But those men died before they could see it, said Annie. Wasn't that expedition run by Ron Jefferson? I think so, said Andrew. That is probably why they discharged him, said Annie. That is where you be wrong, said a familiar voice. It was the final member of the unit Andrew was known. It was the final member of the unit Andrew was in, known as Team Indestructible, and his name was Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow, how the hell did you get here? Asked Andrew. I followed Annie here, said Shadow. I hope you don't mind. I'll just roll with it, said Annie. How the hell did he get discharged? Well, there are a few things he did that got him discharged, said Shadow. I had the files here so you could read it for yourself. Shadow gave the file to Andrew and Annie. They both read the file and were shocked. Oh my God, said Annie. I cannot believe they worship him like a goddamn hero, said Andrew. I guess even the best in the military could be fucking delusional, said Shadow. Thank you, Shadow, said Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, said Cecil. I'll see you later, said Annie. She kissed Andrew. The three members of Team Indestructible left the house. The next day, Andrew came into the mission briefing room only to hear Jake say to him, Look what is on the news. Andrew looked at the TV. What was being shown was a news report, or that the airport in Los Angeles was destroyed. It showed ashes from where the airport used to be, as well as past pictures of it. The reporter said that many officials believe that the Spat News were behind it. The Spat News were a bunch of Russian terrorists who acted like army men. Oh my God, those morons, said Andrew angrily. These guys are not war heroes. They are fucking terrorists who will blow random places up. They should have their air fucking base blown up. The entire U.S. government agrees with you, said Jake. Andrew smiled, but only for a few seconds. Andrew, get out of my office now, said General Davidson. This can't be good, said Andrew. Good luck, said Jake. Andrew walked over to Davidson, feeling extremely nervous. When he came in, and the president was also in the room, this only made Andrew feel worse. What the hell were you doing carrying classified information wherever you were going, said Davidson. General, well, you have no idea how important this is, said Andrew. How in the world is a ridiculous story about our treasure important to the safety of America? Asked the president. Damn it, the story is not ridiculous. Yes, and it should not have even been classified in the first place, shouted Andrew. This is an insult to Jefferson, said Davidson. This is how he wanted it, said the president. Jefferson was a fucking scumbag, said Andrew. How dare you dishonor a man who is a great soldier, said Davidson angrily. You know what? You're right, said Andrew. You know what? You're right, said Andrew in a much calmer tone. He was a great soldier. A soldier who made insulting comments about women, fought with a soldier on a daily basis because he was black, disobeyed a direct order the year he was discharged. Andrew's voice got progressively angrier. How the hell does he know this? Shouted the president. This is why some things should not be classified. He was a fucking lousy soldier, shouted Andrew. That was an insult to Jefferson, shouted Davidson. I should not have to defend my moral outrage, said Andrew, so I will defend the treasure. This treasure could be useful for us. How the hell could searching for a treasure be useful to us? Asked Davidson. The president changed his tone entirely and said, General Davidson, shut the fuck up. General Davidson sat at his desk. You know the airport that is destroyed? Well, we could build a new one, said Andrew. Do you think the treasure will be enough to pay for it? Asked Davidson. The treasure must be fucking priceless, said Andrew. I think it'll be more than enough. Okay, you may have something there, said Davidson. It would also be a damn good opportunity to finish that expedition in the way it should have been done, said Andrew. I fucking love your thinking, said Davidson. This is why you should at least listen to a person's ideas before you fucking attack them, said Andrew. He and Davidson saluted each other. Andrew exited Davidson's office, and the president went up to Andrew and said, Andrew, if it means anything to you, I think you have a good point about Jefferson. You do? Asked Andrew. Yeah, said the president. He took his hand and Andrew shook it. General Davidson briefed everyone on the mission immediately after. Later, in the locker room, a fellow soldier by the name of Jordan came over to Andrew and said, I cannot believe we're taking out a dumb mission to search for a treasure. Why the hell do you always have to bitch about something? Asked Andrew. Because this genuinely pisses me off, said Jordan. Wow, this pisses you off? I guess anything will make you go into a raging bitch fit, said Andrew. A normal human being would be excited to search for a lost treasure, said Jake. Oh, I'm not a normal human being? Asked Jordan angrily. Don't you get it, Andrew? The treasure is a myth. A hoax. It's not real. I refuse to believe that, said Andrew. You're living a lie, said Jordan. As if your life is any better, said Shadow. What the fuck did you just say? Asked Jordan. Exactly, said Shadow. Was that some sort of insult? Asked Jordan. What the hell does that mean? It means whatever the hell you want it to mean, said Shadow. Ah, whatever, said Jordan. Everyone went home after that. That night, Andrew got on a cell phone and dialed Cecil's number. He once again hoped that Cecil would pick up the phone. Cecil did. And he said, Hello. Hi, it's Andrew. I need you to send me the treasure map. I got the military on a mission to find the treasure, said Andrew. When do you need it? Asked Cecil. As soon as possible, said Andrew. Okay, I'll send it to you, said Cecil. Thank you, said Andrew. Any time, said Cecil. They said goodnight to each other and ended the call. After that, Andrew got in his bed and took off his glasses and turned off the lights. After a few seconds of slumber, Andrew woke up startled. Oh wait, no. After a few seconds of slumber, Andrew heard a woman's voice say, Soul sleeps soundly in your beds tonight. Andrew woke up startled. Oh, don't freak out. It's me, said the voice. Who? Asked Andrew. Me, Annie, said Annie. He found her lying under his bed, but was visible just as he looked down. What the fuck are you doing here? Asked Andrew. My parents had a big fight, said Annie. My dad threw a toaster and my mom threw the TV. It was horrible. I did not even know what to do. I did not even know what to do, so I just decided to come to you. Andrew sat there silent for a few moments, and then said, Come on the bed. Thank you, said Annie. She got out from underneath and lied on the bed next to Andrew. I came because you're the only person who seems to understand me, said Annie. Well, that's the best thing I've heard all day, said Andrew. I promise I'll take your mind off your parents. How can I thank you more? Asked Annie. Maybe a goodnight kiss? Asked Andrew. No, said Annie. What? Asked Andrew. Nah, I'm just kidding. Of course you can, said Annie. She then kissed Andrew on the lips. She then kissed Andrew on the lips, and then they happily said goodnight to each other. And Andrew turned off the lights. Soon the day that the Soon the day that the military prepared the ocean liner voyage came. Team Indestructible and the rest of the military put their supplies on the ocean liner. These included guns of all kinds, ticker bombs, and grenades, and even the water bug in case they needed it. Did Cecil join them? Yes, he did. As a matter of fact, when he first saw Andrew, he gave Andrew the map. Thanks, said Andrew. You're welcome, said Cecil. Andrew looked at the map. According to the map, the treasure looked like it was on some island off the coast of Hawaii. Andrew felt a sense of deja vu. There was a huge X toward the top of the map. I'm assuming that's where the kingdom is, said Andrew. You guessed right, said Cecil. The map of the kingdom is on the back. Andrew walked over to the captain of the ship, but first ran into Jordan, who was, of course, angry. I cannot believe we're actually going on a mission to seek a secret treasure, he said. Do you even realize how stupid this is? Jordan, you've been bitching about this ever since General Davidson briefed us about this, said Andrew. It's getting annoying. No amount of convincing will convince me that this is a good idea, said Jordan. Kiss my ass, said Andrew. Dude, I've been kissing your ass this whole time, said Jordan. And Shadow then came up to Jordan and said, Jordan, shut the fuck up and let Andrew go do his thing. I've had enough of your complaint. I have had enough of your complaining. Jordan walked away from Andrew angrily, and Andrew went over to the captain. He was in the control room when Andrew got there. He said, Captain? What is it, Mr. asked the captain. Gates, said Andrew. But to answer your previous question, then the treasure is in a castle on some island near Hawaii. So you will have to voyage there. Andrew showed the captain the map. That can be arranged, he said. Also, I want to ask you, is it okay if we replace one of the lifeboats with the water bug? Asked Andrew. That is one hell of a strange placement, but I will think of it as another lifeboat, said the captain. You seem like a reasonable man, said Andrew. I honor thinking outside the box, said the captain. He saluted Andrew. Andrew returned the favor and departed. After a long time of packing, everyone could hear the ocean liner blowing smoke. This meant that the voyage was finally beginning. Every single person on the ship was excited. Well, maybe except Jordan. The excitement continued, and the boat was moving across the ocean. Andrew could not believe he was getting closer and closer to finding the truth about the treasure he had heard about for years. Both sides of the story. But his excitement stopped when Annie came up to him and said, Andrew, there's something I have to tell you. Don't tell me you're gonna have a kid, said Andrew. That is never going to happen, said Annie. Why not? Asked Andrew. Because when I was in high school, I was in a car accident, said Annie. I had to go to the hospital and everything. The doctor said my reproductive organs were damaged. Not my pussy, but other organs. To spare you the graphic details, it was to the point where I was never able to have children. Jesus Christ, that's horrible, said Andrew. Yeah, it hurt like hell, but I'm actually glad it happened, said Annie. Why? Asked Andrew. Because I hate children, said Annie. So do I, said Andrew. Anyway, what I was going to tell you was super personal, said Annie. But I guess this is the best time to tell you. I don't want to live with my parents anymore. Well, where will you live? Asked Andrew. I knew it was a hard mindset to have, said Annie. But my parents have given me nothing but misery. Come on, they only had one fight, said Andrew. How bad could it be? It's bad, said Annie. They have always been angry like that? Asked Andrew. Yes, said Annie. They have shouted at me countless times and made me feel like shit on a daily basis. I just want it to end. I'm an adult, but I still don't know where to go. Wait, I know. Can I live with you? Andrew touched Annie's blonde hair and said, You don't even have to ask. I would fucking love it. You mean it? Asked Annie. I mean it straight from my goddamn heart, said Andrew. I fucking love you, said Annie. She immediately kissed Andrew on the lips, and the unexpected kiss turned into a passionate kiss. Suddenly, Daniel Gross, a soldier and an amazing mechanic, came over and said, Come on, you lovebirds. The captain has our rooms ready, has our rooms on the ship ready. He told me a few minutes ago. Andrew and Annie went to the room where Shadow and Jake were already. Not a bad room, said Andrew. The feeling is mutual, said Annie. Here's something you'll really like, said Jake. He got out a bag and unzipped it. The bag contained a bunch of guns and bombs. Look at that shit, said Jake. Awesome, said Annie. But why so many? Asked Andrew. We have a feeling that the Spat News are looking for the treasure as well, said Shadow. Can somebody please tell me how the fuck you came to that conclusion? Asked Andrew angrily. Well, you know that new Russian soldier that joined a few days ago? Asked Jake. Yeah, said Andrew. Well, he told me that the Spat News are now searching for, and I quote, ancient giant riches, said Jake. And you waited until we were on the goddamn ocean liner to tell me this? Asked Andrew angrily. He only told me yesterday, so excuse me if I forgot, said Andrew. He only told me yesterday, so excuse me if I forgot, said Jake. I don't hold you accountable, Jake, said Shadow. Well, at least someone agrees with me, said Jake. Okay, I admit my anger was unwarranted this time, said Andrew humbly. If anything, you should be angry at the Spat News, said Shadow. Oh, believe me, I have since day one, said Andrew. The next day, someone knocked on Team Indestructible's door. It was the new Russian soldier. He could tell by the accent he spoke. Oak. He said, Greetings, fellow comrades. I have heard great things about Team Indestructible. Thanks, said Jake. What is your name? Said Annie. I am Vladimir Kozar, said the Russian soldier. Is there a particular reason you've come to see us? Asked Shadow. Why, yes, said Vladimir. I want to invite you all to dinner. Why not? Said Andrew. Splendid, said Vladimir. I can't wait to get to know all of you. When dinner came, Andrew, Annie, Jake, Shadow, Cecil, and Daniel. Oh wait. When dinner came, Andrew, Annie, Jake, Shadow, Cecil, Daniel, and Vladimir all sat together and had some meat and drank plenty of wine. Everyone seemed to have a good time. They were very sociable, but Andrew noticed Annie only spoke Oak at the beginning of the meal. He was getting very worried about her. Whenever Andrew looked over, Annie had the same expression on her face every time. Andrew did not know what it was, but soon the dinner ended and everyone left. But when Annie tried to walk, she struggled to keep herself walking again. She felt really tired and like she was going to fall. This only made Andrew more worried. But finally, everyone was scared when they came back into the room. They found a group of Spatnews soldiers holding them at gunpoint. What the fuck? Said Jake. All right, Vlad, you better have a damn good explanation for this, said Daniel. You honestly thought I was joining the military? Said Vladimir. Ha! It was an undercover operation for the glorious Spatnews. So, in other words, you're a fucking double agent, said Shadow. Precisely, said Vladimir. Mr. Gates, if you're wondering about your lady friend, I put a sleeping pill in her little glass of wine as a token of my goodwill. You bastard, said Andrew. Vladimir then loaded his gun and says, This will be your last words. Suddenly a gunshot was heard, and Vladimir's hands dropped and were covered in blood. Turns out Daniel shot Vladimir's hand. You want a war? We'll give you a war, shouted Daniel. He then shot at a Spatnews soldier multiple times. The rest of the soldiers fired at Daniel, but Daniel was good at avoiding gunshots. Quick, get your weapons, he shouted. Andrew, Jake, and Shadow ran and disarmed the remaining guards and hit them brutally. They quickly got some guns and fired at the soldiers. Blood oozed from where they were shot. When they attempted to shoot Vladimir, he ran way too fast for them to shoot. When all the men went out of the room, a bunch of Spatnews. When all the men were out of the room, they noticed a bunch of Spatnews soldiers. They noticed that a bunch of Spatnews soldiers were coming down the nearby staircase. Shit, said Andrew. He walked back into the room and pointed his gun and pointed his pistol at the room that the door showed. A soldier walked by and Andrew fired his gun many times, The soldier collapsed with blood over his body. With blood all over his body. Andrew walked out of the door and shot another soldier with blood coming out. Andrew went through the door to find some soldiers coming from the opposite direction of the staircase. Oh, Shadow went through the door to find soldiers coming from the opposite direction of the staircase. Shadow fired his Beretta at a soldier and then went back into the team's room. There are soldiers coming from on the right. I need some help, said Shadow. Andrew turned around and fired his gun, and Jake got up and fired his gun at the soldiers coming down the hallway. Shadow and Jake walked down the hallway, shooting the soldiers as they found them. Blood continued to spray. Andrew shot the remaining soldiers coming down the staircase. Andrew then picked up Annie and laid her on the bed in the room so she could rest. The men went up the staircase only to find the captain frightened. He said, "There are more of those Russian soldiers on the deck of the ship." "Well, you already know what to do," said Andrew. "Let's go and fill these bastards with lead." The men went on the deck. Jake fired his gun at a soldier coming out. Shadow fired his Beretta at another soldier. Andrew shot a soldier on the edge of the deck. The soldier fell into the water. Daniel disarmed a soldier and shot him with his own machine gun. A soldier was about to throw a Molotov at Cecil, but Andrew tackled him, and the soldier threw the Molotov at the tower of the boat. The tower was full of fire. A soldier was caught on fire and trying to move as fast as he could, but Andrew shot the soldier in the face. Blood shot down on the soldier's face, and he collapsed. Shadow shot another soldier, but soon ran out of ammo. "Damn," he shouted. "Shadow," shouted Jake. Shadow looked over, and Jake threw a machine gun. "I owe you one," said Shadow. Jake smiled. Shadow then turned around and said, "Die, motherfucker." He then fired the machine gun at 3 soldiers. Andrew ran out of ammo, so he got out a secondary gun and shot 2 soldiers with blood flowing like a river. Daniel shot a few soldiers with his stolen machine gun, and they collapsed, with blood coming out of their bodies like fountains. Cecil picked up a gun and aimed carefully. Moments later, he fired the gun at a soldier. The soldier's head exploded with blood. It seems that all the soldiers were dead, but the tower was still on fire. Suddenly, a strong force was felt on the boat. It was strong enough to make everyone fall on their backs. "What the fuck?" said Andrew. He looked down at the bottom of the boat. He looked down to see that the bottom of the boat was on fire. "Jesus Christ," he shouted. "Guys, I think we have a submarine on our hands." "What are you going to do?" asked Cecil. "This'll be a perfect time to use the water bug," said Shadow. "I like your thinking," said Daniel. "What are we waiting for?" said Jake. "Let's go." The men headed over to the water bug. Daniel entered the water bug and turned on the switch and allowed the davit to lower the water bug into the ocean. The davit let go of the water bug, and Andrew turned it on. "I have never seen a machine like this before," said Cecil. "The water bug is amazing, I have to admit," said Shadow. "Got any missiles in there?" asked Jake. "Fuck yeah," said Andrew. Good, said Jake. Andrew then drove the water bug forward a bit. He then saw the submarine. Quickly, nuke that submarine, or the ocean liner's toast is done for, shouted Daniel. I know, God damn it, said Andrew. Seconds later, Andrew fired 2 missiles at the submarine, and the submarine exploded in an underwater explosion. Andrew let out a sigh of relief. The rest of the men followed suit. How are we going to get out? Asked Cecil. I have the walkie-talkie line for the captain, and I can use it here, said Andrew. Okay, said Cecil. Andrew took out the microphone and pushed a button and said, Captain? Yes, said the captain's voice. We need help to get the water bug back on the ocean liner, said Andrew. All right, I'll send a crew over to pull you back up, said the captain. Andrew kept driving the water bug forward so they could follow the ship. Minutes passed and the crew came to pull the water bug back on. Now the voyage could continue as normal. 15 days later. As soon as everyone saw the island, and excitement was at an all-time high. Nobody could believe that they were going to an island that just might have a secret treasure. Least of all Andrew. He stared at it in awe. Annie was right next to him and said, This island looks really beautiful. It sure looks nice, Andrew agreed. General Davidson then came up to them and said, Is that the island? Is this the island? Yes, it should be, said Andrew. We'll be on it. We will be on it shortly, said Davidson. A few minutes later, and the ocean liner stopped. A few minutes later, and the ocean liner stopped and put an anchor on the beach, and everyone exited the ship. Everyone walked through the jungle. Andrew kept a sharp eye on the treasure map, but the island was at a very hot temperature and very sunny. So much, in fact, that Annie could not take it. She took off her uniform and was wearing a bluish-purplish bikini. Why is she wearing that? Asked Cecil. Because she's sexy, said Shadow. And she knows it, said Jake. Fuck, not another song reference, shouted Andrew. I swear that one was not intentional, said Jake. Everyone kept walking for a few moments, but Andrew saw something and hid it near some bushes. Damn it, he said. The Spat News found it before we did. Great, now what do we do? Asked Jake. We could try and go around them, said Cecil. Easier said than done, said Andrew. I guess we'll have to make an attack, said Shadow. I'll throw a surprise grenade. I think it is a little too late for that, said a voice. It was a Spat News general. He had a few soldiers holding them at gunpoint. Well, shit, said Davidson. The team was taken to a prison and made out of wood, presumably by the Spat News. As soon as they were put into prison, a Spat News general made them listen to a lecture. I am General Alexei Zhivago, he said. I knew you would get to the island at some point, but it did not change the fact that I got here before you. I will not let you find it before me. That is why I plan that's why I'm starting to dig in the spot where so you won't find it. What do you think of my plan? Andrew walked up and said, To you it sounds like poetry. but to everyone else it sounds exactly like what it is. Bullshit, yelled Team Indestructible. Although it does explain in this whole digging operation going on, said Cecil. How dare you, shouted Shivago. Well, you don't even know where the location of the treasure is, said Andrew. How do you know where it is? Asked Shivago. I have the treasure map, said Andrew. Guess you should have found it before you started fucking digging. Then give me the treasure map now. Or what? You're gonna kill me? Asked Andrew. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm not giving it to you. Now you've asked for it, shouted Shivago. He then pulled out a gun, but Jake pulled a knife up to him and said, You pull a stunt like that again, and I'm going to cut your fingers are going to be You pull a stunt like that again, and your fingers are going to be cut like a fucking steak. Like a fucking steak. You pull a stunt like that again, and your fingers are going to be cut like a fucking steak. Suddenly, Shivago felt fearful and knew that Davidson meant business. He backed away from the tent. Thanks, said Andrew. No problem, said Davidson. The team noticed the walls around the prison. They decided to launch a surprise attack when night came. Jacob brought the bag with the guns and bombs. When it was nighttime, Andrew whispered, It's time to throw the bomb and nuke the cocksuckers. Hang on. I need to be careful about throwing it, said Jake. He hesitated, but when he saw the soldiers walk away, he quickly set the bomb and threw it. Seconds later, a huge explosion occurred. The soldiers went out like crazy, and the alarm sounded. Andrew got a machine gun and fired at some soldiers. Shadow then set a bomb and threw it out another window. The bomb landed near a truck and it exploded. A soldier was on fire, and Jake shot the soldier. Shadow fired his gun and hit a soldier in the head. Blood sprayed out of the back of the soldier's head. Andrew then shot a soldier and then another. Annie kept shooting soldiers and then set another bomb and threw it towards some fire barrels, and a huge explosion occurred. Andrew, Jake, and Shadow kept shooting soldiers. Kept shooting some soldiers. Andrew, Jake, and Shadow kept shooting some soldiers, with blood still coming out. Suddenly, Annie noticed that Vladimir was running. Guys, I think that double agent is here, said Annie. Oh yeah, that bastard, said Jake. You recognize him? Asked Andrew. Oh, he's hard to forget, said Annie. I'm going after him. I'm coming with, said Andrew. They ran out and shot the soldiers blocking their way. They ran as fast as they could and got out flashlights and pistols. Once they saw Vladimir, they fired the pistols, but Vladimir was too fast to hit. Another goddamn track star, huh? Said Annie. She and Andrew searched for him again. Eventually they got to the beach. Where is that cocksucker? Asked Annie. Suddenly the lights on the deck of the ocean liner turned on. Ah, fuck, shouted Andrew. He and Annie went aboard the ship. Andrew spotted Vladimir with the flashlight. When he did, he fired his gun immediately, but Vladimir still did not get hit. Andrew followed them, and eventually he ended up on the deck of the ship. Now, now that that light was, now that there was light, they could see Vladimir better. Andrew climbed up the tower, up a tower, because Vladimir was climbing up it as well. Both of them climbed to the top, and when they did, Vladimir tried to climb back down, but was held at gunpoint by Andrew. You make one more step, and I'll blow your fucking brains out, shouted Andrew. Vladimir reached for his pocket. Don't even think about it, you son of a bitch, said Andrew. But Vladimir immediately threw a knife at Andrew's arm. Andrew winced in pain and fired the gun. Blood splashed down Vladimir's face, and he fell down the tower. Andrew pulled the knife from where it was stabbed. Blood trickled down on Andrew's arm. When he got down, Annie immediately put a bandana around Anna. When he got down, Annie immediately put a bandana around. When he got down, Annie immediately got a bandana and wrapped it around Andrew's arm and pushed on it. Thank you, said Andrew. When he felt a little better, he said, I want to fuck you. When he felt a little better, he said, I want to fuck you. Right now? Asked Annie. Yeah, said Andrew. How about we do it in a more comfortable setting, said Annie. Good idea, said Andrew. They moved into one of the rooms and began making out. While kissing, they removed their clothing. Andrew fondled Annie's breasts and then kissed them. He laid his back on the bed and thrust it into Annie repeatedly. More, more, screamed Annie. Eventually they climaxed, and once it was done, Andrew said, we were made for each other.